Welcome to the Mandatory Social Interaction Show. I'm your host, Eric, along with my exultant host, Tim.
Yo!
And my reflective host, Ben.
I don't have a mirror nearby.
I think those sunglasses would do it, Ben.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, very reflective.
I'll get the good ones.
Can we both put them on?
Put them on. Do the sunglasses.
Get your Ray-Bans on.
I'm going to have to get a pair of these. There you go. Woo! Cool break.
Hi, everybody.
Awesome.
How you all doing today?
Very nice, very nice. So hopefully...
I guess we're taking them off.
Hopefully everyone is having a good day today. So a couple things. We're going to start way back last weekend, long time ago, in a galaxy far, far away, was something called the 2-Hour Album Challenge.
Yes.
A non-competition put on by Ben Burns, where people submitted songs that people submitted songs that were created in 2 hours and then put onto an album. And the first time he did it, he got a reasonable amount of submissions, 17.
Yes.
This time, I heard you didn't do as well.
Unreasonable.
Unreasonable amount.
I heard it wasn't as good. What did we get this time?
We got 30 submissions.
30 submissions! Oh my God.
Yes.
That's amazing.
That's a lot. That's a lot of music.
Super blown away by it. We got about an hour and we got more than a CD's worth of music. I think we got about an hour and 20 minutes. And it's all over the place, but it's all creative. It's all really good. It's all super cool. And I can't wait to do the next one. But since there's such big events, I don't want to put them all next to each other because that would like lose the gravity of the whole competition challenge. Right. C word. There we go. So
not that C word.
No, not that C word.
Completely different C word.
But yeah, so it happens every couple months, and I'm already looking forward to the next one. I gotta lock down a date so I can start bringing in some people to hang out and do it with, and it'll be a lot of fun. So yeah, that was a good time. 2hac.bandcamp.com will get you all of the songs. It's free to download, and if you pay for it, it will go to donate to a donation for a local animal shelter called Angel of Hope. Yeah, I like really very, very much.
Go buy the album. Go buy it twice. Support the kitties.
Yep. And if you can't afford it, just download it. It's cool. And if you want to help support it, just let everybody else know about it. There's a reason it's download for free. I want to make it accessible to everybody. And if you can't afford it, then a tweet or a Facebook post or something like that is just as valuable. So yeah, go for it.
So congratulations on getting that out there, guys.
Oh, pretty awesome. It was an epic adventure. It was worth it though. It was fun.
Yeah, it was really cool. I submitted a track and it was a lot of fun. Had a lot of fun doing that. And I submitted one in the first one as well, and it's super cool. If you are on the fence about it, if you're a creative person and you are looking for stuff to do, go to Ben's channel. He's always running interesting little I don't know what to call them. Challenges, I suppose. Not competitions.
Yeah, monthly challenges.
Interesting challenges, 2-hour things, or like this month, you've got the spring sample pack. People can download the sample pack full of sounds made by Ben's little Springbox thing, and then you submit a track that you create with those samples, and then there will be a listening party, and I think an album for that too.
Super all the albums go on the 2HAC page. I don't think there's a listening party for those, but we'll see.
Nice. What do we do if we're completely devoid of creative to artistic talent?
Dubstep.
Well, that's not you, Tim.
That is absolutely me.
No, check out your channel, dude.
Dubstep.
Insert Coin Theater.
Dubstep.
Mixer.com/InsertCoinTheater. And yeah, you can just do dubstep if you don't know how to make music. You just buy a bunch of loops and you just mash them together until you have a song.
I used to be very proficient in Apple GarageBand. Thank you.
Hey,
if you are proficient in GarageBand, you can probably make music.
Yeah. No, I've known people that have made albums in GarageBand. It's not a crap piece of software.
Yeah. Really, GarageBand is legit.
Viable.
So,
Yup.
cool,
You never
cool.
heard the things I put out from GarageBand.
Hey man,
That's true.
everyone had to get started somewhere. That's the way that works.
That's why I'm a streamer.
So yeah, Tim's a streamer, but he wasn't streaming a whole lot yesterday. Apparently,
Yeah.
there was some issues.
Thanks for bringing up the pain, man.
Let's rip off. You got to rip off that Band-Aid, man. You gotta just go for it.
Yesterday was not a good day.
Yeah, I was going to
for
ask
me,
what was going on with
technologically.
that?
So Frontier had a major outage in the Tampa area, which is an hour north of me, and which when I was in high school, Mimi, I liked Apple stuff. Let me just say that. And that's what Mimi asked. Since when does Tim like Apple stuff? When I was in high school, I was that guy. Anyways, so they had a major outage in Tampa, and it was, I don't know, it was just not a good night for the internet. I ended up topping out at one point at 0.02 megabits per second.
Oh, nice.
Which was dial-up speeds. We were downloading images like it was
1999.
56K, and you were getting a GIF from GeoCities. It was awesome. And
I still have my GeoCities page somewhere on like my archives.
Oh, nice. I want to see it. How many GIFs does it have?
Several.
There you go. Then it's a good GeoCities page. So they had an outage, and they finally straightened it out. It was very frustrating because, my entire entertainment base comes from the internet. So Netflix and streams and all. It was.
Did you read a book?
No, we had the internet long enough for me to get Steam, because Steam has this thing now where if you want to play your games offline, you have to log in and go into offline mode, but you have to log in first.
Yep.
So the internet was working just long enough for me to go into offline mode, and I played Beat Saber for 30 minutes or so, 45 minutes until things got sorted.
Beat Saber looks amazing.
Yeah, and for those who don't know what Beat Saber is, it's a VR game. It's a VR rhythm game where you have a lightsaber in each hand, and you slash these blocks in different patterns to the beat of the music. It's pretty cool.
It's Guitar Hero, but you're holding lightsabers.
Yeah, it's super nerdy Guitar Hero. It's awesome.
It looks fantastic. It looks so good.
It is. It's very fun. So I played that for a little bit, and then when it finally got back up, I decided to fire up my my streaming PC, and then I got I got XSplit fired up, and then it started like having this really weird input lag. I'm not sure what's causing that, and I was having like technical issues with that. So like scene switches were taking like a minute and a half to actually happen when I click it, and it would just sit there, and then it was just like, what the heck is going on? And I just was having all these issues, and then I was having so many problems, and I tried playing a game, and the game I was given a game for a promotion, and it's a cool concept. It's a game called Hyper Sentinel. It's a new one that just came out on Xbox and PC, and I think Switch as well. I think it came out on Switch as well, and it's really cool because it's like a arcade-inspired kind of pixel shooter, space shooter game. You fly around and you blast these little things, and it's cool because it connects with Mixer interactivity. So you start your stream.
I have heard of that,
yeah, you start your stream, and it's cool because your viewers can actually be split into defenders and attackers, and the attackers can spawn ships and control those ships to try to hit you and cause you hindrances, and your defenders can give you power-ups and stuff, which is super cool. The problem is that the attackers would hit one button and it would spawn like 300 of this one thing, and it would lag the game. And so my defenders would spawn these bombs, and I would hit it, and the bombs could do a full screen effect with a bunch of sound that does a ton of damage, and it literally crawled to like 1 frame a second for a good like 30 seconds. And this happened like eight or nine times within like 30 minutes. So then it got to the point where it's like, we can't play this. So I had to switch games, and it was just, and then I had my computer froze, my Streambox froze. I was just having all sorts of issues, and it was just one of those like pick yourself up and try again tomorrow type nights, because it was a rough night.
I saw that Zaxxas guy was giving you crap on the chat too. It was not a good night.
Everyone was giving me crap in the chat.
Yeah.
So
All right, so
well,
it is almost halfway through the month,
Yeah.
and there's
Wow.
lots of things going on.
Went by
What topics did you have today, Eric?
well, a couple of things. So I did want to talk about Tim's internet, and I did want to mention that my that I can sympathize with with Tim's problem because my car was in the shop for over a week, and then I got it back, and then the check engine light went on again.
Oh, God.
What you get for having a Mini?
So I took it back to whose band? Hang on a second. Oh, it's not us. Okay, good. I was gonna
No,
say
we're
we
not
didn't ban
banned.
anybody. Cool.
No.
Okay, so yeah. Anyway, yeah, my car was in the shop for a week. It had a malfunctioning or busted fuel injector, which they had to pull the whole thing apart. It cost a bunch of money, and then I had to. So I got it back. I had driven it for less than an hour. Check engine light comes back on. I'm like, seriously? So took it back over to the Mini dealership. Got another loaner. And yeah, thank God I got it. They fixed it for free. They screwed it up when they put it back together. Was the
well, that's good that they fixed it. It just
yeah,
sucks.
at least they fixed it. And to everyone on the stream who can see this, I'm sorry about my webcam. OBS is going nuts today. I'm not sure why. So the flicker, I apologize for the flicker.
Everybody's having problems.
Eric's secretly in a rave.
You know, we're gonna have to put an epilepsy warning before this particular episode. Apparently,
Yep. There we go.
Dude, I don't know why my freaking thing is still. Thank you, Ben. So, anyway, sorry about that. Yeah, that's me. Is that Hendate or Hendale? I can't quite tell.
Hendate.
It's
Hendate.
yeah.
Hendate. That's me. That's my webcam just screwing up with OBS. So yeah, there's not a whole lot I can do about it right now. But yeah, no, I sympathize, man. You know, taking my car in twice in 2 weeks was not pleasant. Oh yeah, and by the way, it was just the valve cover gasket. They put it on and apparently screwed it up when they closed the valve cover. So
Yeah, there was one time I went and got an oil change, and they forgot to put the oil cap back on.
Oh, that's a mess.
I was like driving, and all of a sudden, like this, like oil started creeping up my windshield and stuff. I'm like, what is going on? So I like pulled off to the side of the road, opened up my car, and it's like the engine is wide open. So I like went back, and I'm like, okay, guys, what the hell did you do? And I never went back there. But at least I got the oil cap, and I got a car wash for free.
All right, I'm gonna do my best to just like freeze this.
Yeah, you may just want to like freeze frame it or just disable it or something.
That's pretty much what I'm gonna end up doing here.
Poor Eric.
Yeah.
Oh man,
That's okay.
Hey man, it happens. You were having problems.
It happens. That's the theme of today.
That is the theme of today's show. So
It happens.
I'm just gonna do my best here to make we kind of have a freeze frame going, and it's just gonna stay frozen. Yay!
Hey, good enough.
Now I'll just give everyone the finger. No. So let's see. Ben, you said you had some thoughts on a couple things to talk about. So why don't you go ahead?
Well, I mean, this was going to be a creative exploration idea that I never really got to this week. Maybe next week. But I during the 2-hour track challenge this week, I had some very severe problems creatively, and what was going wrong is I got committed to an idea that I was not good, and I just kept going for it over and over and over because eventually I thought, I could break through this wall, and I couldn't. And about an hour or so into the challenge, I realized that I just needed to pivot. I needed to change directions, and I think that it's valuable to and I tried to internalize that as something that I needed to learn and something that I needed to if something's not going right, you need to stop and you need to reevaluate your situation. You can't just be like, well, I just need to just power through this. And sometimes, yeah, you can power through, but other times it's something where you need to just take a step back and pivot and like understand that this isn't working right now and you just need to try a different direction. And when I did that, the song went way better. Like the end song, even though I only made it in like 45 minutes, the end song turned out so cool. And I think that it's valuable, even not just related to music, but like Tim, with your streaming, I know you've done stuff in the past where like you try something and it doesn't work and you just move on. But there are definitely times where, you know, you get so hooked onto this idea and you think, oh, this is a great idea, it's going to go great and all this stuff. And then you just keep bouncing off of this wall trying to make it work and it just doesn't. And I think that that's a really cool topic to talk about.
Absolutely.
So, yeah.
Yeah,
absolutely.
I agree. And actually, I was watching that stream, and you know,
I'm gonna go talk to a cat real quick. So you guys keep talking.
I think one of the important things to remember is even when you're frustrated and when things are really not going well, you know, to take a step back and reevaluate, figure out where you are and where you can go from here. Take a deep breath. You know, look at the progress that you've already made, and then, you know, kind of figure out what your
Somebody wants attention.
Oh, there you go. It kind of figure out what your options are and go from there, because you don't do yourself any favors by getting so like frustrated that you know, throw the mouse at the wall and run away.
Yeah.
You know, you really kind of need to figure out, like, okay, where am I at? What can I do from here? You know, am I really stuck, or is there a way out? You know, stuff like that. And Tim, I'm sure you've run into things like this just with streaming, where it's like, okay, how do I go from here, because this really sucked right now. This didn't work the way I wanted it to.
Yeah, I mean, I have that with my interactives a lot, actually, because that's really my most involved piece of my stream. Really, is those take a lot of my time for recording, and then I do a lot of editing, and then I have to make it work in my overlay and make it so people can, you know, actually interact with that and make it a thing that happens. And I've actually had a couple where I've had them like done to me, and then I was like, I'm really unhappy with this. I don't like the way it looks. I don't like the way it turned out. It's not what I want. I'm stuck with it, and I don't know what to do to make it better. And it's just like I'd come back to it like day after day. And then with one of them, I literally just put it aside for about 3 months and then came back to it and was like, oh, this is actually a pretty easy fix. And it made all the difference, and I actually got it done and put out there. And that one was one of my most recent interactives, actually. So interestingly, so it's one of those things that just some space, some distance, and even almost putting it out of your mind can help a lot with overcoming that kind of an obstacle.
Yeah, and people talk about putting stuff on the back burner all the time, and I think that that's important to be able to just like put it in the back of your mind. It's still like there, it's still present, and you think about it once in a while, but it's not something that you're trying to hammer away at over and over and over.
Right.
Because, you know, over those 5 months or over those 3 months, you probably saw something that was inspiring, or you saw like you experienced a lot of new stuff, and you were able to integrate that into what you were working on, and all of a sudden it all made a lot more sense.
Right.
So yeah, it's totally what you should do in those situations. Is just like put it aside, worry about it later. And unless of course you have like a commitment to finishing it in a certain amount of time,
like a deadline.
A deadline. In that case, it's like,
you mean like a 2-hour track challenge?
Yeah. But like in that case, you can still like often take a break from that specific thing and work on something else. And it's like, it's just so easy to get like so wrapped up into this one idea. It's like, this is going to be perfect. I'm going to do it right the first time, and it's going to be perfect and great. And then you're just like, oh, it's not perfect. It sucks. And then you just like, it's this downward spiral, and it's so easy to get wrapped up in that. And yeah, just putting it aside for a little bit and just making sure that you have the time to work on it later.
Yeah, Jan Cambrams in the chat is definitely right. Keeping moving is like incredibly important. Like, don't stop.
Yeah.
Don't stop. Keep going. Yeah. You know, you have to, and like Ben is saying, it's like you got to move on to something else. if you're working on a song and you're working on the bass line and the bass line's just not working, delete your bass line and work on everything else and come back to it later. It's like, and whatever thing you're doing, it's like you just have to, like, part of it also, and something I wanted to say about Ben is I was really impressed when he pivoted on that song, because
it was so painful.
It was, it was
so
obvious. It was obvious on his face that he did not want to pivot, and he basically made this go or no go decision, and pivoting made a huge difference. Everything started coming together. It sounded really good, and all of a sudden, it was super cool. And the funny thing is, he even said when he pivoted, this is going to go over 2 hours. I'm not going to make it. This is going to go over 2 hours. He made it in under 2 hours.
Barely. But
I mean, he made it in the 2 hours. I mean, it might have been like right up to the last second there, but he was done. It doesn't, just because it looks bleak and you think, oh my God, I'm not going to make it, doesn't mean that that's actually true. You have to stop that fiction that you're telling yourself and see through it, see past it, and keep going.
Yep. Yeah. And I mean, not necessarily even with the music production, but any creative thing, like a lot of the bulk of the time is exploration. It's trying to find the tone of the project that you're working on. It's trying to find like how everything fits together. And once you have those pieces, generally the project comes together very quickly. But it's like it's trying to figure out how, like, the essence or just the general feeling of the art, and then once you have that, then you generally know how to like fit all those pieces together into the finished product fairly quickly. But
and like Cambram says, he says in the chat also, finish not perfect is my current mantra, and that's kind of how I am, is done is better than perfect. Like sometimes it's just you're never going to make it perfect. Just get it done. Get it to a point where you can say, this is acceptable. And then if you want to tweak it later, you can always usually come back to projects. I mean, it's rare that a project is finalized to the point of never being touched again. So,
yeah, exactly.
Yeah, totally. That's
Spam Likely guy called me again. Sorry.
I get those a lot.
That is such an unusual name.
Scam Likely. Yeah.
I mean, who names their kids Scam?
He calls a lot of people too.
He does.
Yeah, he does.
He's very busy on the phone.
Calls me once a week.
I don't want to derail the conversation. I saw it.
So yeah, no, it's definitely interesting. I'm curious which interactive was giving you such a hard time, Tim, if you don't mind mentioning.
It was actually my new trippy one.
I had a feeling that might have been the one.
A lot of people are like, man, this is really weird and kind of dumb, but like so many people were like, holy crap, it's amazing. And I was like, yeah, really? Like, I'm not 100% happy with it, but like the fact that it's done and there makes me feel a lot better. The fact that I got it done. And it's one of those things that, like, the best part about these interactives that I make for my stream is that, like, they're all me. I can go back and redo them. I can come up with a new version of it. Like I mean, the music that I use is not my music, but I use little clips and then it's all the weirdness that I layer on top of it. Yeah. And that's the part that can change as much as I want it to, or as little as I want it to. And I've been like trying really hard to do that whole simple is better than complex type thing, which seems to be working out pretty well as well. So it was definitely one that, like, I had literally gotten 100% done. I was like, this is ready to go out. And I watched it a few times and I'm like, this sucks. This is not good. Like, this is garbage. So I revisited it like 3 months later, and it was like a really tiny thing that I changed. And I was like, oh, that actually works. That's better. It wasn't that bad from the get-go. I just was putting way too much on myself to make it something it wasn't. So
yeah, it's funny how many projects that you like abandon and come back later. How many times the next time you visit it a week or a month later and you go, like, you bring it up and you go, oh wait, that's way better than I thought it was, or that's actually pretty good. I don't know why I abandoned this. And,
Absolutely.
you know, or you start working on it again and you're like, oh, yeah, why didn't I just do this? Because it's done. Like, and one thing I wanted to say also, you know, everyone in the chat, or I should say Hambrum's in the chat, is talking about, you know, finish not perfect and stuff like that. And what's one thing they say in novel writing is just finish it. Like, just finish your book. Doesn't matter if it's good or it's bad. You figure that out later, you know, and then you write the next one. But finish the thing you're working on before you start moving on to 14 other things. Like, you know, just finish. It doesn't matter how sucky it is. It doesn't matter how, you know, and like, you know, Hendate over here is saying it sucks to be a perfectionist. And you're not wrong, but the idea is stop being a perfectionist.
Yeah. Or at least stop trying to be. I know it's very, very hard. I was for a very long time a perfectionist with the music that I wrote. And I put out an album every 3 years because of that. And it's Chucko, I'll get back to the perfect thing in a second. But when I stopped caring so much about things being perfect, I was able to not only release more music, but since I was able to iterate much more quickly on each song, I was able to learn a lot more and improve myself so much because of that. And not believing in perfection. And there's a quote that I came up with a long time ago where perfection is a mirage. It's something that you walk toward, but you're never going to actually reach. Perfection is something that you want to always strive towards, but realize that you're never going to actually get there. Because even if something is perfect to you, to somebody else, it's awful. So there's no point in trying to appease everybody. You just gotta make it to the point where you're happy with it, where you would be comfortable and content releasing it, and then just release it and move on to the next thing, because otherwise you're just wasting your time. And that sounds harsh, and that's obviously my personal opinion, not gospel, but it's like, once it's to the point where you're happy with it, that means you've probably gotten everything that you've gotten out of it, and you should just move on to the next thing and start something else.
Absolutely. I agree with that 100%.
Okay.
I mean, if you look at my content, there ain't nothing perfect about what I do. and
same here. Like
that's just where it comes down to. You know, my goal is not perfection. My goal is to put on a good show, and that's the main focus. And that's the big difference. I think that sometimes taking that viewpoint where it's, I don't need to hit perfect. I just need to hit good enough. But aiming for perfection is not bad. Like, I still aim for perfection, but nothing I ever do will be perfect. It's me, and I know me, so I can guarantee you that it won't be. So that's ultimately it. You just gotta kind of stop it. You know, don't stop at good enough, but get to good enough, and then maybe work your way up from there.
Yeah, and
definitely.
That's something that I think is funny, is you really have to let go of perfect, because there is just no such thing. I mean, there's no matter how much you work on something, you could always do more. And that's good. That's in music or writing or anything. You can edit more. You can, you know, add that one other effect or that one other line, or that, you know, like, you got to find a place that's just, it's good enough and put it out there. And you'd be amazed. The funny thing is, like, going back to the song Ben did on Wednesday, we were listening to that song and the completed song, and Ben was like, God, guys, I've just, you know, I guess it's okay. And we, you know, everyone else was like, dude, this is great. This is fantastic. We all love it. And, you know, it's like, it's hard when you're the creator to see around that, to come over that block and go, yeah, this was a real struggle and it was hard, but I got there and this is really cool. And maybe a few days later, Ben thinks it's better.
Oh, yeah.
But like, no, you know, we definitely, you know, everyone in the chat was like, this thing's great. You know, this ended up as a really cool song. And, you know, I think that's something, like I was saying before, you've got to see past the lies you tell yourself and see, you know, like, you know, it's not as bad as you think. It never is.
Well, yeah, and as any artist has worked on their project, they are the most intimately familiar with not only everything they like, but everything they hate about it.
Yeah.
And after every challenge, even the ones that I really like, I'm like, this song's okay. And then like 4 or 5 days later, I listen to it again. I'm like, yeah, that came out okay. That came out all right. Like it's really hard. It's really hard to listen to something after you've been hearing it for like 2 hours over and over and over, and just be like, oh yeah, this is good. I haven't heard this before. But after you have that like little separation of time, it's you could come back to it and be a more discreet judge over what works and what doesn't work. And there are definitely songs after the fact that I listen to a week later or whatever, I'm like, yeah, this still isn't great, but it's still, even if it's not great, something was completed, something was done, and I probably learned something from the process. And that's really the main part. The main reason why I do that stream is because it's just like you learn stuff, and that's the important part. And I'm sorry if you hear the cat in the background. He's just yelling.
I can't tell you the number of times that I have come out of a stream going, man, that stream was garbage. And then I've had people like message me and say, that was the greatest stream you've ever done. I'm just like, what? Were you in the same place I was? Because I was doing it and it was not good. But yeah. It's happened like a couple dozen times at this point. And it's just like, I've just gotten to the point where it's like, all right, like if people liked it, that's all that matters. As long as as long as it's not offending everybody's sensibilities, then we're in a good place. Yeah. So
there's a
coming to good enough,
There's a big difference between being the performer and being the audience. And sometimes as a performer, things that feel really bad come across really good on the audience. Sometimes it's really funny. A good example that comes to mind for me is a podcaster that I watch, Justin Robert Young, who he on the Jury Show. The one that really comes to mind is he did this really kind of sort of heart-wrenching story about how he was a journalist at the Daily Orange in Syracuse around 9/11, and he had to do a bunch of kind of sort of horrible journalistic things things that journalists need to do that are part of the job that are kind of sucky. And he kind of went through this whole thing, and it was this very like kind of dramatic, a little bit heartfelt kind of story. And then he ends it, and at the time during his show he was doing music between segments. And so he ends it and he hits like, and he says, all right, up next, iPhone 7 reviews. And he hits the button and it's like yakety sax. And it derailed the whole show. It was hilarious. And he is like, he's literally on the show going, this is like the worst show ever. He like spent like 10 minutes going through all the music he had to go between segments. Like, this isn't better. This one's not better. And it was absolutely hilarious. And you're watching him just kind of he didn't implode. I mean, he didn't like lose his mind or anything, and he didn't get mad. But he was so kind of thrown. It was great. I'm sure sitting where he was probably like, this is the worst thing I've ever done. Sitting in the audience, it was like, oh my God, this is comedy gold. It was great. So, that's something that's like, you have a bad stream and it's like from the other side of the screen, it's like, oh my God, look at Tim. He's having such a bad day. And sometimes that can be cathartic for the audience. Yeah. Just to look at it and be like, oh my God, I see that in me. And like, that can be, it sucks for you as a performer, but like the audience could look at that and go like, oh my God, I'm sure Ben's stream too. Everyone in the chat was like, oh my God, I've done this. Mm-hmm. Like everyone in the chat was, like, oh dude, I've so been exactly where Ben is right now.
Yep. And that's exactly why I love streaming. because sometimes things train wreck like that. And it's so easy to watch YouTube videos of either streamers or musicians or anything and just see, perfect image, perfect song, like over and over and over. And it's like, oh yeah, this is a 5-minute video. And at the end of it, I have this amazing song. Like Andrew Wong, I love Andrew Wong, but like his videos are just like bam, 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 bam. And now I have a great song.
Yeah.
And it's just like, there's no production process where he struggles. And I don't fault him for that. Like it's a pain in the ass and it's super scary, but I love streaming for that reason, because it's so important to show the struggle, because it's not something that everybody sees, and it's so important to show that every single person struggles. And like just having that solidarity, I guess, is really valuable.
Well, and isn't that kind of the appeal of reality TV too?
Yes.
You have the drama caused by people's real life struggles and issues, and it injects. Well, I mean, it's a lot of embellishment. You know what I'm saying? But like that's the whole idea behind it, and to see that in coming from a live stream where it's just a it's not a perfect thing. You're seeing the person. I mean, somebody sits in front of you for 6 hours. They're gonna make mistakes. Things are gonna happen.
Yeah.
And it's interesting because, like you said, when you look at YouTube videos, like coming from my domain, like Let's Play videos, like they cut those up. It's an hour and a half of recording for a 10-15 minute video, and sometimes that sort of thing it cuts out all of the flub jokes and the failed attempts at humor and the failed attempts at doing things, and you lose the whole drama of that. And there's something to be said about an edited video. I'm not knocking the process, but it's just such a different thing in live streams that makes it so much more engaging, I think.
Yeah, that's one of the things.
I completely agree.
Like for instance, Binging with Babish, if you ever watch him on YouTube, he does amazing cooking stuff. And one of the things that he mentions, though, is, his cooking shows on YouTube are like 7 minutes long. Some of the things he does take days. And sometimes he's like, this is like the third time I've done this because, the first two failed. And you already know he's put in 3 hours on this particular thing, and he's done it now 2 or 3 more times prior to that. So now that's, a 9-hour process. And it's like, I mean, there is something to be said for the edited video because his stuff is brilliant when you watch it. But it is easy to gloss over all the effort that went into it too. I mean, that's the thing with Andrew Wong. And even I would say Red Means Recording. I love Red Means Recording, but it still tends to be this 8-minute long thing, and at the end of it you've got the here's the finished product, and it's like that didn't take you 8 minutes. You didn't show all the things that you didn't show all the things that didn't go right. You didn't show your whole process, and I'm not saying you have to, but no, but it's easy for people to. It's easy when you see that 8-minute long video to not understand what the process is. I mean, after your stream on Wednesday, Ben, I went and wrote a song myself, and it's up on YouTube. No, it's not on YouTube. I'm sorry. It's on SoundCloud. People can check it out if they want to. But the thing is, I spent 4-ish hours on that song, and
cool.
it's a little bit under 4 minutes. So you're talking an hour for a minute of audio. It doesn't work out that way when you're actually doing the thing, but if you start putting in, figuring out how much time you're spending versus what you're getting out, an hour for 1 minute of audio. And it's not uncommon for, video to be even higher, a higher ratio where it's 10 hours of video 10 hours of footage becomes like a half an hour long thing.
Yeah, and Samabar said you learn from your struggles, and I cannot agree with that more. And one of the reasons why I think videos are much shorter on YouTube is because it's more of a consumable platform. You're there to watch videos and not necessarily long epics of whatever, and that's totally fine. I put my content on YouTube just because I want it there for archival reasons more than anything else. If somebody wants to binge all of the old series, all of the old episodes, they're able to do that, and I don't expect people to sit down and watch all of them, especially not all in one go. But yeah, like the nature, and now we're talking about flipping YouTube again, but the nature of YouTube is more consumable, where you're just you want to just sit down and watch a couple videos while you have lunch or whatever. So yeah, it's like I totally get why people edit that stuff down. But the fact that you don't watch people struggle, you don't watch them learn how to overcome like problems from that they've been, fronted with, like, it's important to watch people like figure that stuff out. And that's why I like streaming, because that's more of a real-time explanation of, how people confront and overcome problems.
Yeah, definitely.
Oh, thank you, man. I appreciate that.
So one of the interesting things about that, and that kind of comes around to, there's especially in music, but I think in other things too, there's a perception of authenticity.
Yeah.
That's really funny because there's, like for instance, in the recording studio, when you're producing a song, there's always this kind of battle of, well, I can't actually play this live, but I can, edit something together that sounds really good. And there's some people would say, well, you shouldn't do that then. Like, that's not authentic. But the flip side of that is everything you hear that comes out of a recording studio is inauthentic.
It's all chopped together.
Yeah. It's all, and it's not just that it's all chopped together, but even if it's like a continuous, live playthrough, like even if you had the whole band recorded by one mic, by the time you hear it, it's been EQ'd, it's been mastered, it's probably had a little reverb added to it, a little compression. It's got a whole lot of stuff that all, it's by the time it gets to you, it's full of artifice. There's nothing on an album that's not in some way artificial.
Mm-hmm.
And it's interesting to me, not so much that, that things are, inauthentic, but that the perception of authenticity is there, even though it's not, even though it's really not. Like another good example is in special effects. People tend to point out the bad special effects and say, oh, CG, it's all CG, it sucks, CG's terrible. And the funny thing is, the CG that they don't notice is like every sky in Mad Max Fury Road has been replaced. They don't even know that. It's all the CG that you never notice that is like perfect, because it's just, it's just
seamless.
It's subtle and seamless, and you never know it's there. It's the it's the superhero that lands really awkwardly, that you go, oh, that's totally CG, and it's
no, go ahead.
No. It's I was just going to kind of reiterate my point that it's really weird, that perception of authenticity versus the reality of authenticity.
Yeah. Well, all I was going to say is, like, as an audio designer for like games, if you do your job right, nobody's going to notice that you did your job at all. And that's really all it is for, visual effects or music or, your stream, Tim. Like, if everything's going right, like, nobody cares. But if something goes wrong, then it's like, ban Tim, he's the worst. And,
Yep.
Yeah. So
that is very correct.
Well, yeah. And I mean,
exactly.
I would think even in the streamer communities, there's like an authenticity kind of vibe where, like, oh yeah, don't watch so-and-so. He's like, he's a complete wanker because he can't be, he sucks at Fortnite. So, whatever.
It's a baby's game.
Like there's
PUBG's a man's game.
There's but there you go. I mean, that's a good example. I mean, that's a whole like authenticity thing, right? Like, oh, because Fortnite has an art style that is, perceived to be cartoony, it's a kid's game, and PUBG's is more, leaning towards realism,
gritty realism.
And so that's a real game. That's a man's game. It's realistic, even though nothing in PUBG is realistic. I mean, everything in PUBG is screwed up, right? I mean, if you watch people playing PUBG, especially the vehicles, it's hilarious. vehicles clipping through trees, vehicles like, hitting the tiniest pebble and then flipping, 5 times, and then people just getting out of the vehicle because that would have been a fatal crash, and then everyone just gets out and they're like, oh my God, you suck at driving. And it's like, no, the game kind of sucks at physics. But it's weird that there is that disconnect, that perception of one thing being authentic and one not, even though they're more or less the same thing.
Yeah, absolutely.
I don't. It's really.
No, go ahead.
No, what's up, Ben?
I was going to do a stupid throwaway joke, so don't worry.
But now you got to say it.
All right, that's it. Now that's all right, Ben. Joking free.
You talked about terrible visual effects, and you didn't even mention Star Wars episodes 1 or 2 or 3.
Wow, that wasn't a joke. That's like a. Ooh, so look at Tim.
We're done, Ben Burns. We're not friends anymore.
Listen, you have a green screen right there. You could record episode 1.5 by yourself. Oh, he's gone.
Oh my God! Wow, that was
okay. Well, correct me if I'm wrong. Like episodes 1 and 2 were all recorded on green screen, right?
Ben is gonna press the attack here.
That was the basis of what I said. It's like it was all recorded on green screen, probably before the time where it was really easy to do something like that. So it's kind of awkward. And that's really all I was saying, because it's very, very noticeable once you understand what they did.
Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And I mean, you're not wrong. I just like, it was too easy.
Them's fighting words,
and,
Ben Burns.
Let it be noted. Please put in the show notes that Ben was the one who brought up Star Wars.
Yeah, well, somebody had to. And you guys weren't. You waltzed right past that one, so I had to.
Yeah, because we're trying not to talk about Star Wars because someone gets upset whenever we talk about it.
Just because it's funny.
Oh, man.
Oh, so good. So good.
Man.
But ultimately, you're dead right. Like that authenticity, is such a big deal to so many people, and it's just interesting because as when viewing a streamer, I feel like audiences generally flock more towards people who are authentic versus characters, whereas with things that are more like your television and YouTube and stuff like that, they tend to flock towards people who are characters and not necessarily. I mean, YouTube's a little bit of an even split, I'd say, but things like television, everyone goes, everybody's a character. Everyone doesn't watch just reality TV. There's a lot of, stories and things like that are there, and people flock towards that. They love it. And so it's just an interesting paradigm that, in streaming, there's an expectation of authenticity, and not so much in other mediums.
Yeah, and reality TV. Oh, sorry, Ben, go ahead.
No, I was just agreeing.
Reality TV is an interesting example, too, because it's perceived as being very authentic. But the way it's put together, it's not authentic at all.
Yeah.
I mean, essentially the crew and the editors are tasked with take these people, get them to do things that we can edit together to tell a story. And exactly, Hendit. It's pretty scripted and produced. The scripting just happens to be live and happens to involve real people. And basically they're scripting it as they're filming it, and figuring out, literally the camera guys, the guys who are following people around, the house or wherever they are, in the back of their head going, okay, how can we edit this together to make it seem like this person hates that person and amp up the drama. And maybe they don't hate each other, or maybe they do, but how can we make this more dramatic? How can we, this person really doesn't like that person. Let's put them together and make sure that we create drama. That's literally what they do.
Yeah.
But the perception is that it's oh my God, this is 7 people on an island and they're actually doing these things, and there's a little bit of truth to that, but most of it is complete artifice.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
it's interesting to me the difference between that perception, you know, the perception and the reality of you know, what's perceived as authentic is so rarely actually authentic. I mean, the only thing I could say that's truly an authentic experience is, you know, go to the top of a mountain, look out over the horizon, and go, yeah, this is real. Because anything,
unless you're in the Matrix.
Yeah. Damn it, Ben.
You don't know.
I'm trying to find these authentic experiences, and they're no, it's serious.
Have you taken the red pill or the blue pill? Okay, go ahead. Sorry.
No, but it's, you're not wrong. I mean, that's the thing.
No,
is like where this kind of comes back to that definition of perfection. Like what is authentic? Where does that lie? Because, I mean, you know, okay, you took a car to get to the top of the mountain. Is that an authentic experience? Should you have hiked it? Should you have climbed it? Like, you know, like at a certain point, that authenticity and that definition becomes unattainable.
Yeah.
And it's weird to me that, you know, I mean, like, I don't know if you guys remember, but a few years ago, it was a big deal if you were on a YouTube channel and you had like a Patreon. Or you were asking for donations. Yeah. Like if you were like, hey, you know, we have a PayPal donate button. You know, if you like the show, please go ahead and kick us a few dimes, because whatever. We don't, by the way. But if you know, and not that there's anything wrong with that. It's one of those things that's like, you know, for a while, it was almost gauche to try to make money from, you know, being on YouTube. Ad revenue should be enough, you know, and crap like that. And it's like, it's not, and people are trying to make a living, and you think it's inauthentic when people are like, hey, if you like us, support the show.
Yep.
Yeah.
Everyone's nodding. Great audio,
everybody
guys.
Agrees.
I agree. I don't have anything to add to that. I think you pretty much summed it up pretty effectively.
Yeah.
So, okay.
Yeah, exactly.
I guess my question for that then, I did sum it up. However, I guess the question is more along the lines of how do you get around that? How do you get that? Yeah, and I'm going to say attain authenticity, and it's not something you can really attain, but you know what I mean? Like, you know, how do you present yourself as authentic? And I think both of you do it well. And I'm gonna put it out there that, like, Ben, you kind of hit it on the head when you said you love to stream because it shows all the mistakes, and it shows all the struggles and all the things that go into making the sausage, essentially, you know. And Tim, I know, you know, authenticity from you watching your channel is really a lot of your interactivity. You're like, you are the most on top of the chat streamer I watch. And you're very concerned, from what I can see, with like interacting, not just the interactives, not just the buttons you can push that, you know, trigger a video clip, but also the interaction, literally the interaction with the audience and the chat. You acknowledge everyone in the chat, basically always. You are super, super fast when I jump into the chat and I'm like, hey, Tim, how's it going? You're like, I mean, within 30 seconds, typically, you have acknowledged that I'm in the chat, and
thanks to Mixer's low stream delay.
And like,
thank you, FTL, fast as light protocol.
You know, I mean, despite Mixer's failings and how bad it sucks, you do a great job. Oh, come on, Tim, come on.
Nothing for that one.
Nothing. No,
I'm ignoring that. I'm choosing to ignore the slight. Okay.
No. In all seriousness, though, I mean, like that seems to be, both of you, I think, do authenticity well, and I'm kind of like, all right. So, what are your top tips on how to be authentic? What do you do? What do you not do?
If I was able to distill it down into one sentence, it would be yourself consistently, and I mean that's really it. It's understanding what you are, and what I am is I'm a person that likes to teach. I'm a person that likes to show my work, show my process, and I'm a person that just likes to make things. And that is basically the core values of my streaming career. I want to make things. I want to make things frequently and consistently. I want to make things live. I want to show not only the final result, but I want to show the struggle that, produced that final result. And I want to stream because that allows interaction with people, that creates learning experiences between me and them, where I can show somebody how to do something, or I can explain why I did something the way I did, and hopefully transfer some of my knowledge transfer my knowledge to other people. And that's really all it is. I'm trying to just be myself consistently. That's all it is for me.
And that's definitely the same for me. Is for me, it's my focus, my emphasis is on that chat interaction. Like you said, Eric, it's being quick on the draw when somebody talks, and that's how I am in real life. If somebody comes to me and says, hey, hey Tim, I'm like, hey, what's up? What can I do for you? And that's who I am. I try really hard to interact, and I try to make people feel welcome and comfortable. And that's my big goal with my stream, is the same as it is, in real life. Like, I just try to treat people as I do in real life. And, they're literally coming into my home because that's where I stream from. And it's like, welcome to my house. Thank you for being here, and, make yourself comfortable, make yourself at home, because I want people to feel welcome when they come to my house.
Yep.
So
the dirty little secret is that the way you build a community is just to be yourself, be consistent, and be nice.
Absolutely.
I mean, that's really it. It just takes time after that. And it might take a lot of time, but you'll get there.
Yeah. So my question, my follow-up question to that, Ben, is a little bit nitpicky, but if be nice is one of the things, how do you explain, say, the PewDiePies or the Logan Pauls? It's Logan Paul,
They survive
right?
off of drama.
Yeah, they kind of do.
They survive off of drama and conjecture. I mean, that's really what it is, and that's fine. I mean, that apparently is the people that they are. And I'm saying that my personal values is to be nice, is to be open and accessible to people.
Well, that's
their values differ from mine, and that draws in a larger audience. But that's not the type of audience that I would want in my streams anyway.
Exactly.
So that's basically what it is.
I'm the same exact way. Is I run a really tight ship in my stream, because my number one rule is don't be a dick. And those people get popular because of the same reason that things like America's Funniest Home Videos was popular and World Star Hip Hop is popular, because they feed into the primal urge to see self-destructive and negative behavior, because it's fascinating. Yeah. It's a fascinating thing. And part of the reason that like Ninja here on Twitch got so much attention when he spouted the N-word on his stream, because people love to see self-destructive behavior. It makes drama and it gets more attention to that person. And that's not how I am, and I just can't deal with that personally. It's kind of an interesting concept to me, because I've never been that interested in that sort of thing. So to see people flock to that is kind of, I don't know, I don't want to say disappointing, but it's a little disappointing in a way, because the people that are genuine and who have a passion for what they do and love what they do and what they create tend to get overlooked for people who just are like, I'm gonna go to Japan and film dead bodies in a forest, and and that sort of thing. And it's like shock value tends to win, but it doesn't ever win forever. And that's an interesting another thing, is that those of us who dedicate ourselves to what we're doing and are consistent and do it day in and day out tend to succeed. It's just in our own time.
Everybody here remember Tom Green?
The Bum Bum song.
Yeah, like, I mean, he was hugely popular because he did stupid stuff, and where the hell is he now?
Yeah, and
that's really what it is.
Really, like, the same thing with the Jackass guys.
Yep.
I mean, you hear about them once in a while in a thing. Oh, Johnny Knoxville is doing a thing, but 90% of the Jackass kind of crew is just like gone. Not gone, but like out of the public eye. Yeah. So, so Hendate is asking, is there any response from us to the authenticity paradox? To be truly authentic is to not pay it any attention. Well, obviously we are not truly authentic, since we are paying it all kinds of attention right now.
I don't know. I don't understand what that means.
I think. Yeah.
Go ahead, man.
No, go ahead. Okay. I think paying attention to it is fine. It's it's more following your core values, like who you are as a person. That's what authenticity is for me. It's understanding that this is what I am and this is what I do, and I'm not going to deviate from that just because somebody told me to, or just because it's going to get my numbers to go up. Like this is what I want to do, and this is why I do it, and that's it. That's authenticity for me. It's not deviating from that unless I sit down and think to myself, okay, do I want to change the way that I do things?
I think it's really important to keep an eye on if you are being authentic, because sometimes you can easily slip into a persona based on the group you're involved with or what you're doing. And, to not pay attention to that is what leads you to being viewed as a fake, in my view, is when you catch yourself being inauthentic, when you catch yourself slipping into a persona to fit in with a role. Like, for example, when I was in high school, I would hang out with every different group, and my behavior and my speech pattern would change based on what group I'm in. And nowadays, not so much, because I'm just a huge nerd and I love what I love. And if people don't like that, that's fine. Like, that's cool. But for me, it's very important to catch yourself when you're slipping into personas, because everyone does it. It just happens. It is what it is, unless you're paying really close attention to it. So to not pay attention to that can also be a negative, in my opinion.
Yeah, and one thing I think also what he means, though, is if you are being authentic, typically you don't have to pay attention to it. Like, it's not a thing. Like, it's almost kind of like if you're cool, you're cool, and you don't have to ask. You know what I mean? Like,
I know.
Yeah.
I'm cool, right?
But you know what I mean? Like, it's one of those.
I know.
It's one of those things where, like, if you are being yourself, if you're being authentic, and people can just see that you're being authentic, and there's no effort involved because it's just you. It's just who you are. Well,
Garion says we all code switch based on audience, and that's very true.
That's true.
But it's also that also comes down to knowing your audience, but it doesn't necessarily mean that you're slipping into not being yourself, if that makes sense. Because being
go ahead.
changing the way you speak to an audience, like using different language, using different examples and the different metaphors and whatnot, is definitely speaking to your audience. But behaving in a way that would help you to blend in with that audience is being inauthentic. So it's your behavior versus the way that you're changing your content to fit the audience, if that makes sense. So you can do stuff like on Mixer. We have 3 ratings. We have family friendly, teen, and mature. If I were on mature, I'm always on mature. I curse up a storm because that's what I do. But if I go teen, the rule is there's no cursing. So I can avoid cursing and still be myself. So it's that sort of changing for an audience that makes a difference in that regard. I think that's the difference between code switching and being inauthentic.
Yeah, and that's what I was going to say. I don't swear around my parents.
Yeah.
Right.
That doesn't mean I'm a different person.
Yeah, exactly. And like I don't, and like Tim is saying, I don't swear on this show, but like if you know me in real life, I swear a fair amount. And Ben probably swears more than you would expect too. It's one of those. But it's one of those things that
last Wednesday's stream had a lot of swears in it. I think I tilted a little bit last Wednesday.
It's one of those things though that I make a conscious effort or a semi-conscious effort to not swear on this show, and it's not. And what's funny, Hendate, it's not that I feel like funny about swearing. It's that I want this show to be more approachable by people. And so I want to not put people off by swearing up a storm. It's super easy to do, and I could very much do that, and it's not going to offend me, and I'm sure it's not going to offend most of the people in the chat, but that's not really the point. My point is I'm putting this up on YouTube. I want people to listen to it and feel comfortable listening to it, say with their kids or whatever. Or at work.
And sometimes work does not like that.
And we're not and we're not doing an we're not specifically doing a like NSFW stream where it's, hey, we're doing comedy and we're going to curse and that's okay. And there's nothing wrong with that, but going back to like coding and and that kind of thing, it's like, I don't necessarily talk exactly like this in real life, and I don't I ask Ben and Tim kind of interview-ish questions while we're on the show because that makes for a better show. I don't really ask them that in real life. Typically, I'm not walking up to people and going like, "What's your opinion on the YouTube AdSense changes from?" Like I don't do that to people most of the time. But we are absolutely still being authentic. We're giving authentic answers. We're like the answers that I give and Tim and Ben are all, really how we feel. Like if you asked us this in real life, it's not like, oh, I just said that on the show, I'm really, a complete dickwad. It's not like that. It's like, it's so much easier to be who you are than it is to try to put on airs and be a complete jerk on screen or off screen. To be the opposite of what you are on screen is so much more work than just being the person you are in real life.
Well, let me just say that some characters are pretty much exactly how they probably are in real life.
Yeah.
Oh, sure.
At least there's a grain of that. I mean, look at like Dr. Disrespect. I'm pretty sure that guy's a huge dick in person.
And I'm not suggesting like Logan Paul and PewDiePie. Yeah, they're probably kind of jerks in person and they're jerks on stream. So I mean, I suppose in that way they are being authentic.
Yeah.
Yeah, just not, and that's what I was saying earlier. It's just not in the way that I personally find authenticity.
Yeah.
So it's like, yeah, they're probably still being authentic to whatever values and views that they have in the world, but I don't agree with that.
Yeah.
Like,
it doesn't fit with
they play it up.
It doesn't fit with your values and the way you want to be. And truthfully, I don't like. That's not my thing either. It doesn't fit with where I'm at either. It's just one of those funny things that I look at and go, like it's interesting to me that they have an audience, because to me it's like, how could you watch that? But I guess it works for some people, and some people think it's good. And
children love it. Children love it.
It's
kids love it.
Yeah, I mean.
Darn kids.
Yep.
Well, and I mean,
get off my lawn.
And I can see why kids love it, because I mean, it's one of those things that you look at and you go, as a kid, oh my God, he's saying all the things I want to say out loud.
Right. Well, because you're in general raised to not be a craphead, and I think that is ultimately when you see somebody being that. Kids really identify with that, because it's like they get to do what I don't. That makes them cool, and that's just how it is. Because kids are so often told that you're not an adult, so you can't do this. And when they see somebody that looks youngish doing that, they're like, "That's awesome! I want to do that too." And it's just how it is. That's the whole thing.
So we're definitely running a little long here, but I kind of want to end with this. Sure. M has a really good question here that I want to bring up, and that is, if you're trying to force yourself to be better, does that mean you're not authentic? And I will start and say, my opinion is, striving to be better is never inauthentic. I think that is a human push that everyone is for the most part trying to be better, and most people are trying to be better people. Most people are trying to get better at a thing, whatever that thing is, if it's music making or woodworking or streaming or whatever the thing is that most people are striving to make themselves better in some way. And I think that's authentic. I think that's part of like the normal human struggle of because we start with nothing, right? I mean, we're born, we don't really have any skills, and we learn more and more and more, and it's kind of a blank slate, we need to keep adding to it. So I don't think that's inauthentic at all. I think that's human.
Yeah. I think the desire to grow and to change and to better yourself is probably one of the most authentic things you can do as a human.
Yeah,
and I really do.
Yeah, and it still fits within the framework that I put forward earlier, where it's just like, if you change your core values, then you're striving to be authentic. Like, if your core values is you realize that you're a jackass, and it's like, no, I want to be a better person, then you're striving towards that authenticity. I mean, that's really all it is.
Yeah.
So yeah,
I would
being
totally
somebody
agree
that
with
you're
that.
not isn't inauthentic. It's trying to be what you want to be.
So, and Oliver Duck Hunt in the chat. Yeah, I'm not moving because my webcam was acting up earlier, so I'm kind of frozen. I've got a freeze frame going, and that's okay. We're just going with it today. So
Yeah.
that's
It happens.
Yeah, my
It
authentic.
happens.
That's my authentic self. I am just cold and frozen in real life. So that's just
It's a representation of his inside.
It's a representation of who I am. So, well, cool guys. I kind of think that we've reached our social interaction quota for the week.
I agree. I would
I
tend
think-
to agree with that.
I think
Don't
we
have to
did.
talk to anybody else.
I think we
7
did pretty
days.
good. Yeah, we're
Perfect.
done. That's it. Once this stream goes off, I stop talking
Take a nap.
completely. I don't talk
Lock
to anyone.
myself in the basement.
I don't talk
As soon
to
as we're
anyone
done, my
during the
pants are
week.
coming off, and I'm going to go lay down again.
So let's see. Where can people find you on the interwebs, Tim?
You can find me on Twitter at InsertCoinTim. You can find me on Discord at discord.gg/ICT. That's where the Insert Coin Theater community hangs out. And you can catch me on Mixer, because I'm one of those dirty Mixer streamers over on mixer.com/InsertCoinTheater. Catch me with full interactives and faster than light chat.
Awesome. And Ben, where can people find you on the interwebs?
You guys can find me on Twitch, Twitter, Patreon, and YouTube at Ben_Burns. I do music every week on Twitch. My YouTube channel contains all of the streams from the music production and a lot of other weird things. And on Twitter, I am on there all the time, and I talk to basically anybody. So if you have questions about creativity or just want to talk in general, you can find me there. And Patreon, you can give me money for random stuff. You should check it out. Yeah, that's me.
Cool.
What about you, Eric?
You can find me on Twitter at ZaxxusEMK, on Twitch at twitch.tv/ZaxxusEMK, and I'm on YouTube at Eric Klein Create, or youtube.com/Eric Klein Create. This show is available on Stitcher, Google Play, iTunes, and wherever fine podcasts are sold. You can also find us at mandatorysocial.com. The theme song is Protofunk by Kevin Macleod.
Yeah.
And the background music is by some jackass, I don't know, some guy on the internet named Ben Burns.
And
I
hey,
guess-
Eric, can I interrupt you real quick?
Yeah, interrupt, go.
Special shout out to all the chatters who hung out today.
Yeah, you
too.
guys are
It was cool to
awesome
have
today.
you. Thank you
Yeah.
for being here.
Everybody there.
Yeah.
Yep, thanks everyone for watching. Thanks everyone in the chat. And Ben is at abstractionmusic.com. We'll see you next week.